From our Qorus ribbon, if we select data tags, we'll see that it's automatically included all the fields that were in our SharePoint list, but we want some more. So I'm going to click the Add Source button and select the SQL option because I want to connect to my SQL database. I'm going to call it CRM link, and I'm going to enter the details that I set earlier on. Now, once I click generate, it actually picks the example line that I entered earlier on. This is why I mentioned that it was useful, because it then allows the system to test whether it's getting information back from the SQL system. And there we go. There's my CRM link now within my tags area. We want to do some more. So I'm going to click Add Source again, and this time I'm going to choose a SharePoint site which contains my fund information. I uploaded this earlier on. Once I have the site, I choose the fields that I want it to return. In this case, the three: the fund change, the fund description, and the fund manager. And I'm going to choose the conditions by which I want that to pull back information, which if when the fund name is equal to the fund choice that I make in my original list. I did make a mistake here in that I can't give my data source names with spaces in, so I'll correct that, and I'll run the test, and it works successfully. Okay, two more. I'm going to add source, and this time it's the auditor information. I navigate to my auditor information table. I choose the auditor name, auditor address, and auditor contact information to make available to me. And again, I want this to come back when the fund title is equal to the fund choice that I make in my request docs list. I choose my example, and yes, data is coming back, so that's working. I'm going to add another source, and this time it's going to be the fund rate information. This is slightly different because it will return several lines based on the particular fund that I choose. I have data for each quarter of the year. So I choose my fund rate information, and I tell it what I want to come back. Basically, date range, fund change, and the APR figure. And again, I want that to come back when the fund name is equal to the fund choice that I make. But this time I wanted to return a table, and I do have to give it a table name. I'll call it the fund rate table. Again, it'll ask to run an example, and it tells me for that example it's going to pull back 4 rows, and that's correct in this particular example. Okay, our tags are looking good. I'm going to add another source, this time the pictures or the charts for my particular fund. I select my fund chart picture library, and I find where the type is image on my right hand side. I'm going to select the name, and this time I want it for when the title is equal to my fund choice. Remember, we set the titles earlier so that they reflected the fund choice options. This is where we assign that operator to make sure we bring back the right chart. I'm going to run a test. It doesn't actually show you the images as part of the test, so you'll just have to trust that it's connected, and we'll run a full document test later to see that it works. I'm going to do the same with the fund signature images as well. Find my fund manager signatures picture library, ask for the image to be sent back when this expression, which is when my title is equal to the fund choice. Again, I run the test. So there we go, a nice impressive tag library for us to add to our template document. With Qorus DocGeneration, it's as easy as drag and drop. So for the CRM list that I've created, I just pick the information that I want and add it in, removing the placeholders that I put in with the tags from the CRM link. Okay, once I've uploaded those, I'm just going to change the color so that they are black. In my particular example, there are a few fields that aren't mandatory, namely address 2, address 3, and county. Now, because I don't want there to be a blank line if there's no entries in those particular CRM fields, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a business rule that tells it not to include that line if there is no entry in that database field. All I do is simply click on the line, highlight it, and under my business rules, ask for a new rule. In this case, I'm going to enter address 3. I'm going to basically choose the condition that when address 3 is not equal to blank, then it will include it. In other words, if it is equal to blank, then it will not include that particular line. Again, I'm going to do it with, I did it with address 2, and I'm going to do it with county as well. So county is not equal to blank, then it won't show that line. I'm going to replace today's date with an automatically generated date. Nothing to do with Qorus, standard word capability, but it looks quite nice. Okay, so you've seen the principle. We just do the same further down the document. I'm going to replace the dear first name with the first name from the CRM system. And just make sure I change the color. I'm going to change where it says the fund name in the paragraph. I'm going to change that to my fund choice. And the fund change percentage is also a field in my fund information table that I can import. Now you'll notice that there are two lines here. There's one that talks about the great news because the fund has gone up, and the second one has talked about the tough year because the funds have gone down. What I'm able to do is drop in the same tags here, but obviously I only want one to appear depending on whether it's been a good year or a bad year. So what I can do is I can highlight the particular, once I change it all to black, I can highlight the first sentence. The great news is that it's going up. And again, you guessed it, I'm going to go to my business rules on my Qorus ribbon, and I'm going to add a new rule. So this one is first paragraph, good, and I only want it to show, I have that fund change information on my fund information table, and I only want this to appear if that fund change is greater than 0. So in other words, if the fund has improved this year. The following sentence I want to include if the fund hasn't done so well, i.e. it's been 0 or it's been a negative number. So again, I go to my business rules, I create a new rule, first para bad, and I want it to show that particular sentence when the fund change is less than or equal to 0. And we get to test this later to check that it works correctly.